My name is Saim Bhat. I'm a singer-songwriter. I'm from a beautiful place you all know called Kashmir. Kashmir is the land of Sufis and the Rishis. Kashmir is the land of love, extreme passion. I'm sure many of you who've been to Kashmir must have noticed this passion in people. Whether it's a guide, tourist guide, or be anyone. I started my journey when I was a small boy. You know, there are kids in this classroom, and they get, there are different kind of kids in the classroom, One wants to become a scientist, one, wants to become an engineer, one wants to do things. Nobody thinks of being a musician. Music is a passion. I wanted to be a pilot. I wanted to be a pilot. But thank God I didn't do that, because, when 9/11 happened, I realized, oh my God, thank God I didn't do that. Because, being a Kashmiri, being a Muslim, and being a pilot, three things that could have killed you any day. So, my parents took me to Middle East. And in Middle East, again, I found few people, a friend who was a pilot, a carpenter. We formed a band again. And I'm doing the same thing, playing music there. In those days, music was, again, in Saudi Arabia, the same situation. You could not play music openly. There's something weird about it. So, this is exactly what I did. One day sitting at my parental house, I just decided, I said, that's it. I was in Kashmir, I did a concert. Okay, I brought few people, 100 people, 200 people, 300 people there. Okay, they had fun, And oftenly those people would message me, hey, dude, we had fun on that particular day. It was wonderful. It was the best day of our lives. Imagine, because that was unheard of in the 90s. And I somehow said to myself, I think my mission is incomplete. And I would not complete it if I go back to Kashmir and do music again, start, playing around again. Because I know there would be forces which would stop me again. But I knew one thing for sure. Everybody listens to Bollywood. From Kishore Kumar to Rafi Saab. Everybody listens to music there. Back in the homes, when they open the television, you'll hear only music going on. So what was wrong with having live performances there? It was maybe the coincidence that, I was born at the right time. So I did a crazy thing. I took a flight from Saudi Arabia. I bought a ticket and I went straight to Srinagar. I wanted to go to Bombay, but I went to Srinagar. The reason I went to Srinagar is because I thought if I go to Bombay, I don't have a place to stay. I had a car back at my place in Srinagar. So this is exactly happening in one day. I travel to Srinagar, I take the key of my car, and I put the key and I drive all the way from Srinagar to Bombay. All the way. And believe me, it was the scariest drive. Because all this Rajasthan drive, it's like straight and, you cannot see anything. And when I reached Bombay, the first thing was Juhu Beach. So I went to Juhu Beach. I stopped my car there. I was exhausted. I was tired. So I stopped the car there, turned on the AC, went, had some pani puri, and then came back in the car and relaxed. And that happened for the next 15, 20 days. Till finally I got a small place. Because it's very difficult to find a place in Bombay, honestly speaking. Especially when you're a newcomer, you go to Bombay, pursue a dream, something like this. Till finally, one day, I was sick and tired of everything. Like 6 months struggling in Bombay, I was sick and tired of everything. I was like, what am I doing? I'm going to this music guy, I'm telling him, this is my song. And he's like, wow, it's a nice song. But he's not giving me a song. So I had enough of it. I went straight to the studio, Empire Studio, where I met Mushtaq Nadirwala. And Mushtaq Nadirwala sees this young guy, a rebel, and he's like, listen to my music with like a lot of confidence. Nadyadwalas, we all know, they're pretty prominent in the industry. And he tells me, he exactly tells me, he says, Bappi Leri is right in the studio here. If you want to go and you can go and meet him. I was like, wow, Bappi Leri. Bappi Leri, we all know Bappi Leri, wears a lot of gold chains. He's an amazing person. So I went inside the studio and Bappi Leri asked me to sing a song. Obviously. So I sang this song. तेरी यादें मुझे तड़पाती हैं, तरसाती हैं, मेरे दिल को कभी धड़काती है, बहकाती है, तू कभी किसी और की होना नहीं, जादू तेरे इश्क ने ऐसा किया, सूफी तेरे प्यार में बन ही गया, सूफी तेरे प्यार में बन ही गया. And when I stop, Papita goes like, Khub balo gaan. And of course, I was not well versed in Bengali. I was like, what did he say? Because in Kashmiri, gaan is a bad word. So I was like, did he just say, get out of the studio? So the other guy said, oh, he appreciates you. He really likes you. And then Papita called me. He said, okay, tell me something. Where do you stay? First question he asked me, where do you stay? I said, sir, I stay in my car. And he's looking at me. He's like, what kind of a guy is this? I said, I want to do music. I'm here from Kashmir. I told him my mission. I explained it to him. I was very clear about what I wanted to do. I told Bappi, I said, Kashmir is going through this and I want to do this. I want to bring a ray of hope for them. Because they think Bollywood is something which is unimaginable. Nobody from Kashmir has made it to the Bollywood. A singer. So he said, the first question he said, where do you stay? I said, in my car. He said, okay. He said, you need a place. I said, yeah, I know that. He said, okay, come over to my place. And that's how I ended up at Bappi Leri's house. Bappi Leri's, I not only learned music production from him, composing from him, I learned a lot of things. I asked him about left, right, and center, about Kishore Kumar, how he worked with Kishore Kumar, and the kind of composition he did, Mithunda, all sort of things. And that was, you can imagine, my father would often hear about Bappi Leri. We all see, Bappi Leri, we all know Bappi Leri with a lot of gold chain. But he had a golden heart as well. That was really, I really felt that day he asked me to come over to his place. So I stayed at his place for 1.5 years. And I did my first song, Sufi Tere Pyaar Mein, which you just heard. And then I started composing right, left, and center. Till finally, there was a friend of mine, Mithun Sharma, and he was working on a movie on Kashmir. And he needed help with, writing and composing the song. So I went to the studio, and there also, he asked me, he said, can you sing this part? This is a Kashmiri part. And it's like, to the coincidence, that part says, Yete sari aso ralit basit, dil sarit po shugulzaro. Amunu khabatra is in nazam, dil sarit po shugulzaro. Which means, you never leave the hope of peace. And it was like as if God is guiding me. He's like, he's giving me a good sign that, okay, you're doing well. And then I ended up doing 2-3 songs with Mithun. One of them being Phir Mohabbat Karne Chala Hai Tu. Another being Khuda. If you may play. जिस राह पे है घर तेरा अक्सर वहाँ से हाँ मैं हूँ गुजरा, शायद यही दिल ने कहा तू मुझको मिल जाए, क्या पता क्या है ये मामला, जानू ना मैं जानू ना ओ दिल, संभल जा जरा फिर मोहब्बत करने चला है तू दिल, यहीं रुक जा जरा फिर मोहब्बत करने चला है तू। कुछ भी नहीं जब दरमिया, फिर क्यों है दिल तेरे ही ख्वाब बुनता, चाहा कि दे तुझको भुला पर ये भी मुमकिन हो ना सका, क्या है ये मामला, जानू ना मैं जानू ना ओ समझ जरा फिर मोहब्बत करने चला है तू दिल, यही रुक जा जरा फिर मोहब्बत करने चला है तू। And then I did this another song in the same movie called Khuda. But before that, so I started doing concerts left, right, and center. Now again, this was a very difficult, also a different time in my life. When I realized, this is 2015, when I realized, okay, there's so many people, they're now doing music in Kashmir. They're following, like there are many bands that have come up. You know, every time I started in 90s, and now there were so many bands they were playing. But somehow I felt, okay, they don't have the technical knowledge of it now. So, I don't know why I do this to my life, but I went back to Kashmir. And with all my earnings, with all my savings, again, a super band. I go back to Kashmir, I open up a school. With the support of no one, I did it on my own. With, of course, the support of people, my staff, the students who were there. I opened up a school by the name of Sufi Studio, Sufi's Academy. We had about 300 kids. And then I was also given an award. I was the first youth icon of Kashmir. And I was given an award called Son of Soil. 2016, they made me the Sufi ambassador of Kashmir. Now they put a turban on my head and they said, okay, now you're the Sufi ambassador of Kashmir. I was like, wow. But I told them, I kept on telling them, every man has his own journey. If I want to do something for my people, it's not that I'm doing a favor, I'm doing it for myself. Because it's the way I want to see the people. It's the way I want to see my city. It's the way I dreamt of it. It's me, me, me. It's all selfish. What I'm trying to say here is, there'll be times in your life, when you would want to do for your society, and you wouldn't know. In those particular times, even small things do matter. You would think for example, we care about the nature, environment. We'd think, okay, I'm throwing this one particular plastic out there. What would happen? But believe me, one person matters. Each individual matters. Whether it's peace, whether it's pollution, whether it's anything else. Each human life matters, and their voices have an importance. Then I did a song, Ae Khuda. Let's play that. बंदा ये तेरा नादा नहीं है, हाँ इसमें लाखों लाखों कमी है बंदा ये तेरा नादा नहीं है हाँ इसमें लाखों कमी है भटका है ये तो तेरे बिना लुट गया है ये तो तेरे बिना ऐ खुदा गिर गया मैं जो तुझसे दूर हुआ लुट गया ऐ खुदा गिर गया गिर गया So that's my story hasn't ended. My story hasn't ended. I'm in Bombay nowadays. I've signed 2 films. I did 2 songs. Me and Arijit recently completed 2 of the songs, which might come in this particular year. I just want you guys to know that, you can make a difference. If you feel there is something wrong in your society and you want to correct that. Don't wait, don't discuss it, correct that. State your voices out, discuss about it. Because we are human beings and we can communicate with each other. Our communication is our biggest strength. So let's keep our communications open. Let's exchange ideas. Because at the end of the day, we are only human beings. And we are all going to the same place, aren't we? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.